First of all, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf Ayin Aleph. We're up to daf Ayin Amud Beis, maybe 15 lines from the top. But before we start, tonight is the Meshech Chachmas Yortzeit.
Wow.
היורצייט של רב מאיר שמחה הכהן מדווינסק. זה היורצייט שלו. לא הניח ילדים, לא השאיר ילדים. היה לו בת יחידה. He had one daughter, and the daughter passed away in his lifetime.
Wow.
So, what do we have from the Meshech Chachma? We have his Chidushei Torah, Or Sameach, Meshech Chachma, and one verse from the Meshech Chachma, which
He was in Hungary, no? Hungary, Meshech Chachma?
in Dvinsk. Dvinsk. Where's that? I don't know either. Lithuania? Ich weiß nicht. We have to look it up. But anyway, yes, so he says, Yaakov comes to Lavan, to Esav, and he says, Vahili shor v'chamor. Meshech Chachma says, Lama shor v'chamor, lama lo חזיר וזה, גמל, למה שור וחמור דווקא? היה לו גמלים, היה לו עוד דברים. אז היה לי שור וחמור. אז המשך חכמה אומר משהו.
לא תחרוש שור וחמור ביחד?
לא. יפה, יכול להיות. זה הפשט של מרשור, רפשור.
כן? של המרשם, באמת?
לא, זה לשלך. אבל המשך חכמה כותב משהו מיוחד. אומר, מי שרוצה להיות ירא שמיים, somebody wants to be a Erlich Yid, he has to be black and white. He cannot be gray. There's no gray area. You got to be black and white. What's kosher is kosher. What's tome is tome. What's tor is tor. Shor, shnei simonei taira. Chamor, shnei simonei tema. Yeah? החזיר, גמל, ככה. אם אתה רוצה להיות Erlich Yid בלבן, you live by Lavan, Vahili, Shor, V'chamor. Yiddishkeit has to be all or it can't. Decisive. Yeah, that's it.
All or none. Decisive.
Yeah, you gotta have clarity. It's gotta be black and white.
Clarity.
It's gotta be black and white, which is why a Yid, a Frum Yid, wears black and white. Life is black and white. There's no gray. Okay, doctor's gonna.
Doctor.
Said, Meshech Chachma's Yortzeit. Meshech Chachma's Yortzeit tonight. You're gonna leave children, so.
What Victor Miller gonna say? You know what Victor gonna say?
I know what exactly what
he's gonna say. He went to university. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why you see gray area. Because he went to university, you see gray area.
1 year and the Rebbe I had in YU only spoke Yiddish.
Wow. We're up to Daf Ayin Aleph today, but Daf Ayin Amud Beis, it's around 10 lines from the top. Ahim Masavisa, the Masr Klida. There's a story that happened with the Masavisa. What is a Masavisa? Somebody, a Jewish woman who sells wine, and she gave over the key to her shop, to her wine store, Loivedas Kechavim. And she left. Now the shaila is, are we chayshish that the guy went into the chanut, the shop, and she touched the wine? Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Lozer, Uvda Avle Medrasha. This is exactly the story that came to Arbis Medrash, V'amru, and we paskin le Masrla, el Shmiras Maftech Lovad. The truth is, we have nothing to worry about, because just because you give her a key, doesn't mean she feels free to enter without permission. Because she assumes that you gave her the key to watch the key, not the storage. Yeah, hold on to my key. So Mamela, Shmiras Maftech Lovad doesn't give her rishus to enter the storage room, and if she goes in there, she'll be nitfas kiganav. So Mamela, she's afraid. So you have to worry, you have to be suspicious that she touched the wine. We also learned it with regard to taharis. Yeah, a chaver that gives a moiser maftech islam ha'aretz. A ha'aretz is somebody who's not makpid lechel chulin b'tahara. A chaver is. So can a chaver give over the key to his storage of chulin b'tahara, of chulin tahira to nam ha'aretz? Says the Mishnah in taharis, taharos of taharis, that whatever he has in that storage room is tahar. He doesn't have to worry that the Amoritz went in there as matama the taharis. Why? Because the Amoritz doesn't feel free to enter the storage room and start touching the taharis because it'll be nitfas kiganav. You gave him the key? I just wanted him to watch the key. The Gemara says, so you see from the Mishnah about taharis, you can rely with regard to tum and tahara. So you're worried about Yain Nesach? Certainly Yain Nesach, you can be soymech on this svara that lemasre el shmiras maftech bovad. Says the Gemara, remember from the way you articulated this, remember the taharis alima miyayin nesach, the taharis, the halachas of taharis are more stringent than yayin esech. Yeah, that's how you sounded because you said it in Lashon Kal V'Chomer. Where says en? Absolutely, the itmer, because we learned in Braisa, it's a memra. Chotzer shecholka shecholka b'mesifas. Mesifas is a very low mechitza, very flimsy mechitza, right? So let's say you and I own a chotzer together. We want to separate it, so we put mesifas, right? The Baba Basra, first mission of Baba Basra, right? Mesifas is a very, very cheap way of putting a divider. So what happens if a chaver and a ma'aretz share a chatzir, and the chaver wants to separate the chatzir to make sure that the ma'aretz doesn't enter his side because he wants to guard over the taharis that he has there. So the halach is Amarav taharos of tmeis. It's tamei. If you only divided the chatzir with masipas, you have to be chayshish that the ma'aretz crossed that boundary and he touched your chulin betoma. Over oivet kechavim. What if the neighbor is not a ma'aretz? It's a guy. And you want to guard your yain nesach, and you have masipas that separates, divides your half from his half. Says the Gemara, Rav says, Oivet kechavim eino oisi yain nesach. So what do you see from here? We're more machmer by tumat tahara than by yain nesach. If the neighbor's a goy, no problem. If the neighbor's an amaretz and you're a chaver, then taharos of tmeis, Rav says. And Rabbi Yochanan after taharos of taharos. No, they're both okay. But what do you see from Rav? From Rav's chiluk between taharos and yain nesach, you see that taharos is more chamer. So the Gemara says, Meisavei. Now the Gemara wants to ask a kasha on Rav. What if you have two chatzeris, but you don't share the same chatzer? You have two separate chatzeris, but yours is inside, and the Ma'aretz's is outside. And for you to get into your chatzer, you have to kind of walk through the Ma'aretz's chatzer, the outer chatzer. Says the Gemara, the chaver Talmud Chacham can no problem. You can put Peirus and Kalim there in his chutz in the pnimis. Even the ma'aretz can stick his hand into the inner chutzner, no problem. It's still tar. So you see, you're not choishesh kasha l'Rav. It's a kasha and Rav because Rav says by mesipas when it's divided, you have to be choishesh da ma'aretz, overstep the boundary and touch the chulin, the taharis and made it tamei. And over here by two chatzeres, the pnimis and the chitzayna. We're not suspicious. No, since over here it's panimis, the way it's arranged. Thank you. It's chotze zulufne mezu. So there, the Amartz is more afraid. He'll be nitfas keganev. Shenitfas olav keganev. If he sticks his hand in, maybe he's more careful. So even Rav agrees over there that the chulin is tar. Toshema, Kashan Rabbi Yochanan who's choylek and Rav. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer gagoy shel chover lema lo migagoy shel amoretz. What if you have a different arrangement? You have the rooftop of a chover is slightly higher than the rooftop of the amoretz. The chover can be sheteach, can spread out his kalim and his peiros over there. It has to be that the gag is at a distance where even if the amoretz tried to stick his hand into the gag of the chaver, he can't reach it. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, is not choishesh. Here you see you are choishesh. That's why you need a distance. If the ma'aretz could reach the gag of the chaver, we're afraid that he's going to come up with an alibi. He'll be smart, and he's not going to be nitfas keganav. He's not going to be afraid to stick his hand in there. He's going to say, I'm just trying to measure certain measurements over here. And therefore, over there, Rabbi Yochanan is maskim that we're choishesh. Toshema, gagoy shel chaver b'tzad gag shel amoretz. What if you have the arrangement where they're equal? The gag of the chaver is equal height with the gag of the amoretz, and they're right next to each other. Kasha l'Rav. You have a kasha and Rav because over here, even if the yad amoretz can come and can reach into the chaver's gag, still there's no chashash. I know the Amri Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon argues over there. So I'll hold like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Okay. So bottom line is, what's the bottom line we're coming out over here? That Mesiras Mafteches ta Amoretz, when it comes to Chulin B'Tahara, or to a Goy, when it comes to Yain Nesach, doesn't raise suspicion. Does not raise suspicion. That's the bottom line. Okay. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. We're up to the Mishnah of Einam Beis on the bottom. Boileshes. What's a boileshes? Boileshes, how does he translate? Rashi says it's an army that that basically come to search. It's a search team, a search. What are they like? They are the IRS.
KGB,
Yeah, exactly.
Shabak.
They're like the FBI, the CIA, the Shabak, the KGB. Shenichnasu le'ir b'shas shalom. They come into a city at a time of peace. Chaviyos psuchos asuros. Any barrels that are found open, they're aser b'hana because we're afraid that the chayalim drank from the wine, and it's yain nesach. Stumos mutaris. But if the chaviyos are stumos, then you could drink it because, I guess, the fact that it's awesome, that proves that they didn't open it, and it's okay. What about b'shas milchama? What if it's not b'shas shalom? The chayalim came into the city at a time of war while they're waging war. Elu ve'elu mutaris. Akol mutaris. Lefi she'ein lehem pnai lenasech. They're too Torah. They're too busy. Isaac b'milchama. They're too busy with the war. Now, the Gemara asks an interesting question. Veramini, ir shekafshu karkoim. Ooh, let's see. Yeah. Says the Gemara, Veramini. I'll ask you a question. Ir shekafshu karkoim. If you have a city that was under siege, kol koyanos shebetoicha psulos. Any woman that's married to a kohen is puzzled to her husband. She cannot marry her husband again. Why? Because Eishes Kayin is Aser even if she was an Einus, an Anusa. Eishes Yisrael is Aser if she's Baratzin, right? If she was not a Baratzin. But Eishes Kayin is even Anusa. So we're afraid that, Afilogoy, right? So we're afraid that these Chayalim that laid the city under siege and then they entered, we're afraid, Mabish Tapas Ein Aleph. Yeah, so that they violated these women and Kohen Shabbataycha Psulis. So what do we see from here? Says the Gemara. You see that b'shas milchama, they do aveirus. They're not just Torah and milchama, right? Betach Shem Ein Aleph. So the Gemara's Omer of Mari Teretz is lenasach ein panai. For religion, they have no time. Yeah, yain nesach is their religion. Live oil, yesh panai. For that they have time, right? For that they have time. Now I have an interesting pshat in this Gemara because I don't know if it's real pshat. You'll tell me. We discussed this earlier, but you'll tell me if you like it. Okay? A lot of times you have certain namirim, certain tanoim that give certain members certain terutzim, and if you understand their life and where they came from, their upbringing, their culture, their environment, it sort of makes sense that they're the ones who are giving that teretz. Yeah? It's their life circumstances led them to that teretz. Now, who was Rav Mari? Rav Mari, we said, Rav Mari Barachel was whose son? His grandson of Shmuel, right? Who was his father? Isser Giyoyre. Yeah? His mother was captured. She was in captivity, and she was violated.
By this guy.
By Isser Giyoyre, right? Until, whatever. Whole sugya, right? So Rav Mari is the one who says, "B'shas Milchama, live all yesh pnai." Why? Because he came from a situation where his mother was captured, and he was mad. This is my weiß nicht. Yicholiyot.
Maybe it's a little different accent than what you're saying. Maybe because he had that experience, he was zeicher to bring that moment through him.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a little bit more of a spiritual, you're saying. Mine is mental and emotional, yours is spiritual. You want to give a spiritual twist.
He became a total
Right.
He divorced himself from his background.
Correct. But I'm saying...
Well, his mother was Jewish.
He saw his mother. He saw he saw it firsthand. Livel yesh panai.
I know, but becoming his past history is exonerated. Is the right term?
Well, what's it?
He was not a ger. Rav Mari was not a ger.
His mother was Jewish.
No, I mean, but his history from his father's...
Yeah, but he was a yid. He was a yid.
I'm talking. His father was Megaira or not?
His father's Megaira later. Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, later. After he was conceived, after his mother conceived him,
Yeah.
his father was Megaira.
And they stayed together.
So he was always a Jew. He was always a yid.
They stayed together?
Yeah. Issa Giyair is a famous fellow. Now, I don't know if he was Ma'anasir or not, but Al Kapanim, ich weiß nicht. I'm not sure exactly
Whatever
what the
it
story
was.
was. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Zug the Heilige Mishnah Vater. Imnen shall Yisrael, up to the Mishnah, ein Aleph and Aleph. Imnen shall Yisrael, shesholach lem evcham chavish yain nesach b'scharon. let's say you work for a guy, and the guy pays you, like my Rebbe used to say, he gets paid weekly, very weekly. Yeah? So,
You mean that means like weekly?
yeah. So the guy is the employer, the Yid is the employee. He's waiting for his paycheck. Instead of his paycheck, instead of his check in the mail, he gets an Amazon delivery, a barrel of wine. Yeah? And it comes from the guy. So here's a problem, because you have to assume it's Stam Yenam at best. At worst, it's Yain Nesach. So is the Yid allowed to receive it or not? Obviously, he can't receive it, he can't drink it, he can't have an off from it. So what's the halacha? So the Mishnah says, if he hasn't brought it into his house yet, he didn't make a mashiach, he didn't make a kinyan yet, you can refuse it. You can say, hey, listen, I just got this delivery, I don't want it, pay me the money. I want COD, cash on delivery, right? So here, that's the Mishnah says. Mutter loy metenlon was the mel. Give me the money. But mishenichnas ol rishusan, once you make a kinyan on the Yain Nesach, right? The guy wants to pay with Yain Nesach, and you already made a kinyan in it. Osir. Then it's osir to say, exchange the Yain Nesach for the money that you owe me. Why? Because now you're doing chalipin with Yain Nesach, because you already kind in the Yain Nesach. So that's the din of the Mishnah. Says the Gemara. Omer vidam Rav. Mutter la'odem loimer la'evet kichavim. Tzei v'hafes alai menas hamelech. What are we talking about? Ein Aleph Amar Aleph. Omer Rav Yehuda Rav. Mutter la'odem loimer la'evet kichavim. A person's allowed. Yeah? He owes a certain amount of wine to the king, taxes, right? Like just like we have Meiser. So he has to give taxes to the king. So he's allowed to tell the guy, Tzei v'hafes alai menas hamelech. Do me a favor. Pay whatever I owe in terms of the taxes. Yeah, even if he knows the guy is going to pay with Yain Nesach, it's mutter. Why? Because the guy has a choice. He can pay money. So the fact that he gives Yain Nesach, that's his own choice. It's not on behalf of the Jew, because the Jew just said, "Save a hafez alai," right? Go pay whatever I owe. So the guy could have paid money. He decided to pay Yain Nesach. So it's not a problem for the Yid to send them as a shliach, because it's medas atzmoy that he's giving the Yain Nesach. Okay, asks the that's Rav's chiddush. Says the Gemara Meisavei Avakasha Bebraisa. A person is not allowed to tell a guy, I want you to pay the taxes instead of me, when he knows that the guy is going to give Yain Nesach. So it sounds like Rav is wrong, because the Brisa seems to say you're not allowed to do that. Right? Rav said when a Yid tells a guy, do me a favor, get the IRS off my back, yeah? Please pay my taxes for me. And the guy goes ahead and pays with Yain Nesach, it's mutter.
Right.
And the Brisa says, I didn't specify.
Have no way of knowing for certain. Right?
So here, Brisa says, a person is not allowed to tell a guy, ul tachtai lo'oitzer. You do it instead of me. When he knows that the guy is going to give wine. Right? Because now the guy is shliach and he's giving Yain Nesach on his behalf. It's aser. Amalei Rav. So Rav says, no, it's not a kasha on me. Why? Because ul tachtai lo'oitzer kamret. You're talking about a person saying ul tachtai lo'oitzer. That's not similar to my case. Halidamya eloha avol omer loy malteni min ha'oitzer. What I'm talking about is not what a guy says, you be instead of me. Ul tachtai means you take my place. I'm not saying that. I'm asking you a favor. Get the IRS off my back. I'm not saying you be me. It's a very different case. If I say malteni, get them off my back, and there's ways to get them off the guy's back, be either cash, money, or wine, and the guy decides to give Yain Nesach, Rav says not a problem. But if I say ul tachtai, and I know you're going to give Yain Nesach, that's taka an issue. That's a problem. Okay, so the Heilige Mishnah weiter. If a guy sells his wine, a Yid sells wine to a guy. It's very interesting, okay? Very interesting. Very interesting sugya right now. A Yid is selling his wine to a guy. Now, where's the issue? Where could the issue be over here? Where's the problem? Where could the problem arise?
Shmira on the wine.
What?
Shmira on the wine.
At what stage?
From the moment he gives it over.
Okay. Once the guy is kind of it, no problem. It's the guy's wine, right? If the guy touches it, makes the Yain Nesach, it's a kvar shalom. And shum bayah. The problem is, if the guy touches it in the process of the transaction, before halachically it becomes the guy's. So if the guy touches the Jew's wine, while it still belongs to the Yid, that means now it becomes yain nesach,
Right.
and Yisrael is not allowed to sell yain nesach. He can't sell it anymore.
Right.
So here is where this big sugya comes in.
We had this before with the barrels, putting the barrels into the jugs.
Yeah.
So then we have a similar.
At what point is it?
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Very similar sugya. The Gemara is going to talk about that as well. Yes. So now let's see the Mishnah. A yid sells his wine to a guy. Pasak, if they set the price, they both agreed on a certain amount of money for a lug of yayin, let's say. Let's say they set $10 a lug. Ad shaloi modad, even before the moicher measured the amount of wine that he's supposed to give him.
Right.
Domav mutarin. Then the wine, the money that the guy pays is mutter. Even if the guy touched it, it's mutter. Okay.
Because the deal was sealed before anybody touched the wine.
Yes, the deal was sealed before he touched it. Why?
Yeah.
We'll see in the Gemara. But right now, the Mishnah's lashon is pasak.
Yeah.
They both agreed on a certain price. What happens if modad? Yeah. What if he measured the wine and the guy was moishechet at shaloi pasak before the Jew and the non-Jew agreed on a price? Dam of asurin. Then the money is aser bahano. Why? Because even though the guy allegedly did the Mashiach, but he wasn't goymer das to be kainat yet because he doesn't know how much he's going to charge him for it. So it's still the Yisrael's.
Yeah.
And if it's still the Yisrael's, he's touching the Yisrael's wine. And the Yisrael can't have enough of that money because you're not allowed to sell yain nesach. Okay,
In other
that's
words,
basically,
when they decide on a price, that's Gemiras Das.
that's Gemira's das.
So from that is the point where the sale is called.
L'chayra.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
as of now,
Yeah.
let's
Right.
take the Mishnah at face
Right.
value.
Right.
Okay. So the Heilige Gemara. Omar Ameimar. Sogt Ameimar. We're getting into a shas sugya of whether Mashiach is kaina by a guy. Is a guy subject to the same halachas of kinyanim as a yid is, or does he have other parameters when
Well,
it comes
by
to
God,
kinyanim?
what would only be if mammon? I mean, what would be if it's not Mashiach? What would it be?
Yes, kesef. Yes,
Kesef.
we'll see. Amar Ameimar says Mashiach ba'ovet kechavim kaina. That Mashiach is kaina by a guy, just like by a yid. That's Ameimar. Yeah.
Right.
Teida avaraya. Hani persoi. Mishadre pardashna lahadadi. These Persians, they keep sending gifts to each other. Veloy hadrebu. And they're never chayzer. From the fact they're not chayzer, even though the Makabel Matana was Moishech, so you see that Mashiach is kind of by a guy. Okay, interesting. His raya is from the Persians. Rav Ashi says, "Lo, oila meimelach Mashiach b'cham eina kaina." Really, I'll tell you that it's not kaina Mashiach by a guy. The reason why the Persians are not chayzer after they give gifts, you know why? They're too arrogant, too proud to take it back, right? Mitzad din, they could avada take it back because Mashiach is not kaina. Even though they gave the gift and the makabel matana was moishechet, in shom
Wait,
kinyan.
so like, again,
The Persians are not chayzer from each other. Teretz is they're not chayzer because they're too proud
Okay, fine.
to approach the guy and say, "I want it back." Nothing
Yeah.
to do with halacha. Rav Ashi,
How are we learning from Goyim?
oh,
Allah is
Machavan to Toisvis. Doctor's saying, how did Ameimer's source is from Persians? Yeah? So,
what about the whole
Ayin Aleph, Amar Aleph, take a look at the third Toisvis. Amar Ameimar.
Kosparo? What about
Huh?
that?
What about it?
Don't we learn how to,
From Ephron, you mean? Ephron? You're talking about Ephron.
no, it's
Can you
something.
kesef?
No. By Yosef and the two who,
talking about the dream,
right, the two dreams, right, the dreams.
Uh-huh.
But
What
that
do
was,
what-
that was a dream.
One was a Sar Mashkin, another one was a Sala Ofer,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So Sar Mashkin gave back put the coast in Paro's hand again, and the Sar Ofer was.
What does it have to do with our sugya?
Because the Pasuk says something about.
You're saying that you could learn from Goyim.
I'm asking, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm right. I mean, just.
Yeah,
kind of-
yeah,
This
yeah.
This is from the seat of my pants here.
Okay, very good. Not bad. So Taisa says, Oy Marie, I don't know if you see the Einze Ikaratam. Avada Ameimer is not learning from the Persians.
Yeah.
That's not the Ikaratam. Elam Shendam Meimer Savak Rabbi Yochanan. Really, he holds like Rabbi Yochanan that Mashiach by a guy is not kind of famous. Rabbi Yochanan Shlach Shnazav Bamitzia. Yeah, Moz kindness. Okay. Mashamevi Rayim with the Parshash Nasroi. Ezel Kia Masla Ba'alma Sheminigav Esem Raparsim Shenechoiz Mach Mashiach. Anyway, he's just quoting what the Persians did, but that's not his ikar source, really. Tosfos says, Tosfos bothered by, you're bothered by, and it's certainly because he holds like Rabbi Yochanan and he has a source from the Torah. Okay, Amar Rashi. Rashi says, how do I know that Mashiach does not work by a guy? Because Rav advised these wine sellers, ki kailisa chamra, when you measure the wine for oivdei kechavim, do me a favor, do yourselves a favor, Rav says. Shaklu zuzim enayu, first take the money from them. Why? First you want to be kind of it. You want to acquire, you want them to acquire it, right? So it's theirs. V'hadar kailalu, and then measure it into their jugs and give them the wine. V'iloyna kita badai zuzi, and if they say, we don't have money on us, we forgot our wallets back home, yeah? Oizafinu, lend them the money. Yeah, Rav says to these wine sellers, the people, the wine merchants, lend the goyim money. This way, and then they'll pay you with that money. And then they'll owe you the money. Why? Because if you're not going to do what I'm telling you, when they touch the wine, the yayin nesach becomes yayin nesach in your rishus when you still own it. And then you'll end up taking money for yayin nesach because it became yayin nesach in your rishus, and you know how to take money for yayin nesach. So a Rav advised the wine merchants, and he told them, make sure to get paid before you even handle the wine and put that into their kalim for Mashiach. You know, because if you don't take the money first, then it's still your wine, and then they're touching your wine, and then you can't take money for it afterwards. Right. Okay, that's what Rav said. Says the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that Mashiach is kaina by a guy, then why did Rav have to tell them to take money first? Right? Turn the page. Ein Aleph Amid Beis. Top line, first word. Right? So then, he could still do the Mashiach without the money, and when the guy touches it after the Mashiach, it's already his wine, because Mashiach is kaina. Says the Gemara, okay, now we got to pay attention to it. You got to keep track. Says the Gemara, Id the kakayil v'rami lamana di Yisrael hachanami. If what the Yid is doing when he sells the wine to a guy is he pours it into the keli, his own keli, yeah? He just pours it from his barrel to his own jug, hachanami, then you're right. In such a case, then the guy would be kaina the yayin b'meshicha or ba'agba before he even asers the wine. Lo tzricha. So Rav didn't mention in this case. 1 second.
The Jew gets paid first, right?
Rav says get paid first. Why? Right. Because if you don't get paid first, then when they touch the wine, it's still yours, and then you can't receive money for it because it's already yayin nesach.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So Gemara says, you see, Mashiach is not kaina. Gemara says, no. Really, I'll tell you, Mashiach is kaina. Why did Rav tell them to take the money first? I'll tell you why Rav told them to take the money first. Rav was talking about the wine merchants that weren't pouring the wine from their barrels to their jugs. They were pouring it into the goy's kalim. And the problem with pouring it into a goy's keli is that as soon as you pour it into the goy's keli, it becomes yayin nesach automatically, because in the goy's keli, the bottom of the keli already has yayin nesach in it. It's their keli. So when you're pouring your wine, it mixes automatically with the wine of the goy, and it becomes yayin nesach. So before they can even do a meshicha, it's already yayin nesach. And therefore Rav advised these wine merchants who pour their wine into the goyim's kalim, get the money first, because if you do it otherwise, then it's yayin nesach. Because in that case, it's before the Mashiach.
Right, kinyan kesef,
Yeah, but here the Gemara wants to say, could be Rav holds there is a Mashiach by a guy. Why did Rav say take the money first? Because over here, we're talking about where it become yayin nesach before the Mashiach, because you're pouring it into the guy's keli, and it mixes with their yayin nesach. Says the Gemara, soif soif. Now the Gemara is getting very technical. You ready? Soif soif. Even if Rav was talking about a case, yeah, a case of the wine being poured into a goy's keli, still it shouldn't be an issue. You know why? Because kimota la'avira damana kanye. As soon as the wine hits the airspace of the keli, even before it lands and mixes with the yain nesach of the goy, already the goy was koinet. Why was he koinet? Very interesting. He was koinet, Rashi says, b'hagbo, right? Because the goy is holding the keli, and when the Jew is pouring this wine into his keli, he's already koinet b'hagbo, which is very interesting. How is he koinet b'hagbo? Right? The goy is holding...
וגם כן, ברגע שהגוי מחזיק את הכלי, מה שבתוך הכלי של הגוי נהיה נסח ישר.
כן, אבל הגמרא רוצה להגיד פה, that before he even touches the נסח on the bottom, as soon as it hits the ear space, he was already koinet. Yayin nesach lehav at the mota lechis of the mona. It's not yayin nesach until it reaches the bottom of the keli. But at the ear space, he's already koinet, so he's already koinet before it. So why does Rav say, take the money first? Even if he doesn't take the money first, the guy will be koined before it turns into yayin nesach, because it's in the ear space. Tumen klicheres, because the ear space of the klicheres is matama. Yeah. Right. So what are you saying?
In your idea, it doesn't need that going to be wine in the keli. It's not even if the keli is empty.
Right.
The minute it goes to the hand
of the guy.
You know, his kli, הוא מחזיק אותו, הוא שקשק אותו,
Yeah.
Finish.
Even before it touches any of the... it only hits the ear space.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't need to have yain nesach inside מתערבב. מספיק שזה בכלי שלו.
זה גם כן יין נסח.
בטח, מה שבכלי שלו.
אבל זה לא נוגע בשום דבר, אז איך זה יין נסח?
Does that make a difference?
הוא מחזיק את הבעיה.
לא, מחזיק את הכלי, אבל לא את היין בעצמו. הישראל שופך את היין שלו בתוך כלי. זה רק נכנס באוויר של הכלי. הוא לא נגע שם. אז זה מה שהגמרא אומר. אם זה רק באוויר של הכלי, אז שמה הקניין. The kinyan takes place when the wine is in the ear space of the keli of the goy, before it turns into yain nesach, before it hits the bottom of the barrel.
Right. And the goy doesn't even have to hold the kli.
2 separate stages. And afterwards it's yain nesach.
And the goy
kinyan is first. So why did Rav have to tell them to take the money? Kinyan would anyways.
Without money?
That's the Gemara saying, because Kinyan Agabah, Gemara wants to say that Rav could hold Mashiach by a goy helps. Agabah by a goy helps.
Yeah.
So why did he say take the money first? The reason why I took the money first is because it touches the bottom of the barrel and it's yain nesach. But the Kinyan happens first, as the Gemara.
Right.
If the Kinyan happens first, so why?
Below the rim of the
rim,
kli.
yes.
Right, yeah. Now the thing is, the goy has to be holding it, or it can be sitting on the table or on the ground. Does it make a difference?
We'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, you saw the Gemara?
No.
Oh, the Gemara's going to talk about it. Very good.
Maybe in a previous life, but not.
Yeah, previous life for sure. The Malach. Your mother's womb. So Shema Mino Nitzoik Chibur. So perhaps you'll tell me the reason why it's yayin nesach even while it's in the airspace is because it's connected through the stream with whatever is on the bottom.
Right.
Right. Come on, Bagat. We had that. Gat the bor. Right. We had the whole sugi of Nitzik over there. Very good. Shlecha Zikaron. Shabbos also. Nitzik Chibur or not. Very good. Right. So machlok is not sufficient. Shema Mino from Rav. What can you learn from Rav? That Nitzik is a Chibur, because Rav seems to say, take the money first, otherwise it'll become yain nesach before the kinyan. How will it become yain nesach before the kinyan? Teretz is, right, even when it hits the ear space of the kli, before it even hits the ear space of the kli, even when it's outside of the rim, since it's connected through the stream, it'll become yain nesach beforehand. What says loy? No, there's no raya. Truth is, if the goy held on to the keli in his hands, like Rachavi, you said that, it's taken out of raya. Yeah. Right, because then Rav didn't have to be misaken that they should take the money first. Because you're right. Leitzricha the manacha aro, because he's koined bagba. Leitzricha the manacha.
What in a case like that?
A case like that, right? Leitzricha the manacha aro. He's not holding the jug in his hand, so there's no hagba,
Right.
and there's no kinyan bachlal from the side of the guy. So what's going to happen is the guy wasn't koined yet, and it's becoming yain nesach before the guy is making a kinyan, so you can't receive the money afterwards because that's yain nesach already. So for that specific case, when it's the guy's keli and it's on the ground, for that specific case, Rav said make sure to take the money first so that you sell the guy, so that it belongs to the guy before he touches it. So the Gemara asks, still Rav didn't have to make the takana. You know why? Because v'tikna lekilyai. Whose kalim is it? It's the guy's keli. Right. So you're right. Mashiach and Akba isn't negeya.
What is it, Kenyan Chatzar? What are we talking
Kenyan
about?
Chatzar. Very good. Even if the keli is on the ground and he's not holding on to it, but it's his keli, it's the guy's keli. And if it's the guy's keli, that's Kenyan Chatzar. It's coming into his Chatzar. So Mamela, I still don't need Rav's advice, Rav's suggestion to take the money first, because the kinyan happens before the yain nesach takes place, because it's in the avera chatzar, the avera keli of the guy. So shamat mino. So from the fact that this doesn't work, there's only one possibility. Why doesn't this work? Why did Rav have to give his advice? Because shamat mino kil yoshel lekeach b'shesmoicher lekana lekeach must be that even though the keli is rishus hachatzar of the guy, still, since the keli is in the rishus hamoicher, we had a Baba Basra pay hey. We had a whole sugya where the keli shalakeach b'shus moicher is kainer, ain't kainer. Must be if Rav is insistent that the wine merchants receive the money first, so the kinyan takes place before yain nesach. Must be that otherwise the kinyan wouldn't take place before yain nesach, which means that chatzah won't work over here, right? So chatzah won't work over here. So you see that the halach is keli shalakeach b'shus moicher lekana lekeach. What is loy? No, that's not a rai either. Loy lamei melach kana lekeach. Over here, I'll tell you really, it's kana lekeach. So why did Rav have to suggest you should take the money first? How does he translate that? There is a rim or a lip.
Yeah.
A lip around the jug, that the mouth of the jug, that holds back the wine as he pours the wine. Says the Gemara, really I'll tell you that kana lekeach, really that the kinyan can happen in the rishus of the moicher als kinyan chatzar, because it's the keli of the lekeach. Here we're talking about where there's a lip on top of the jug of the goy's keli, and it has some remnants of yain nesach, so it gets mixed into the yain nesach before it reaches the ear space of the keli, before a kinyan happens, and that's why Rav advised the wine merchants to take the money first. This way they sell it to the guy before it can become yain nesach. Asks the Gemara, come on, who does Rav Paskin like over here? The Loikem Shem Gamliel. The Shem Gamliel, if he holds like Shem Gamliel, Ha'omar, later on, he says in the Mishnah, Yemocher Kulav Dikachavim, when you have yain nesach mixed into yain kosher of Yisrael, all you got to do is take the amount of yain nesach that got mixed in, and whatever that value is, you throw it out, right? So basically, you can basically sell it to a guy minus whatever value the yain nesach had in it. So this way you don't have enough from it. So this is a very simple eitzah, right? The eitzah could be not to take the value of the yain nesach, only take the value of the yain that he has, the yain of the Yisrael. So according to Shimon Gamliel, Rav didn't even have to advise it. It's not a problem. So Gemara says you're right. Midu time elul Rav. Here we're talking about Rav's shita, and Amar Rav himself says, "Aloch kam Shimon Gamliel chavas b'chavius avaloy yain b'yayin." You paskins like Shimon Gamliel that you could deduct the value of the yain nesach only when a chavis of yain nesach gets mixed up with chavis of yain kosher of Yisrael. But if a yain itself, yain nesach itself, gets mixed into the wine, the kosher, yain kosher of Yisrael, there he argues with Shimon Gamliel, and that's why Rav advised differently. He said, to prevent the problem of the yain becoming yain nesach before you sell it to the guy, make sure you take the money and make sure the kinyan happens first. Says the Gemara, really I'll tell you that really that the kinyan could happen in the rishus of the Meicher als kinyan chatzar, because it's the keli of the lekeach. Here we're talking about where there's a lip on top of the jug of the goy's keli, and it has some remnants of yain nesech, so it gets mixed into the yain nesech before it reaches the ear space of the keli, before a kinyan happens, and that's why Rav advised the wine merchants to take the money first. This way they sell it to the guy before it can become yain nesech. Asks the Gemara, come on, who does Rav Paskin like over here? The Loikem Shem Gamliel. The Shem Gamliel, if he holds like Shem Gamliel, Ha'omar, later on, he says in the Mishnah, Yemocher Kulev Dikachavim, when you have yain nesech mixed into yain kosher of Yisrael, all you got to do is take the amount of yain nesech that got mixed in, and whatever that value is, you throw it out, right? So basically, you can basically sell it to a guy minus whatever value the yain nesech had in it. So this way you don't have a no from it. So this is a very simple eitzah, right? The eitzah could be not to take the value of the yain nesech, only take the value of the yain that he has, the yain of the Yisrael. So according to Shem Gamliel, Rav didn't even have to advise it. It's not a problem. So Gemara says you're right. Midu time el Rav. Here we're talking about Rav's shita, and Amar Rav himself says, "Aloch Shem Gamliel chavas b'chavius avaloy yain b'yain." You paskins like Shem Gamliel, you could deduct the value of the yain nesech only when a chavis of yain nesech gets mixed up with chavis of yain kosher of Yisrael. But if a yain itself, yain nesech itself, gets mixed into the wine, the kosher, yain kosher of Yisrael, there he argues with Shem Gamliel, and that's why Rav advised differently. He said, to prevent the problem of the yain becoming yain nesech before you sell it to the guy, make sure you take the money and make sure the kinyan happens first. Okay, we'll stop over here.